Welcome back to our strength and conditioning needs for blind athletes series. I am Evan, the blind strength coach, owner of K-Enable Fitness. Today we are covering blind hockey. Now, blind hockey is freaking hardcore, and I want to make sure that you guys who are going to play it are more than physically prepared to be able to succeed at that sport and have a lot of fun doing it. Okay. What we have to focus on first and foremost is Bulgarian split squat. So we're rear foot elevated split squat. This is my absolute favorite thing for hockey players to be doing, especially off the ice. If we think about how we have to stride when we are actually skating, especially when you're having really high output and trying to go fast, it is pretty much exactly what a Bulgarian split squat is. It's really hard, especially with visual impairment, to be getting a lot of ice time, especially high quality where you're really able to sprint out. So building up your capacity to be able to do these heavy, to do these for a lot of reps, etc., and be able to be versatily trained on Bulgarian split squats is hugely important. A more advanced version you can look at is a half-field split squat, which is going to be like a regular Bulgarian with just being able to use dumbbells and a plan of support, something like that, and instead using a safety squat bar in order to take it up to the absolute next level. Go ahead and try those out if you are really in good control of your Bulgarian split squats and want to be able to do that at a much higher level. I do have videos about that. If you guys have any questions, you can check those out. Next is going to be our durability. When we are doing any sort of contact sport or where you're going to be falling, sliding, hitting the ice, anything like that, obviously not a lot of checking in blind hockey, hopefully, but we have to make sure that our body is durable enough to be able to take on the forces and the falls. So make sure that you're putting on enough muscle in order to be able to recover and take the hits of the sport. Next is going to be conditioning. Incredibly important. We can train that off the ice, especially when we combine appropriate conditioning with, again, stuff that makes sense for skating, like our Bulgarian split squats. We're going to be able to train a lot of the stuff off the ice that's going to piece together for optimal performance on the ice. So making sure that we're doing conditioning, especially in more hockey shift style, can be really incredibly important. Put yourself on a stable machine like an air bike where you have to use your arms as well, so the whole body is being taxed. Do 45 seconds on, complete sprint, 130 off, very similar to typical hockey shifts. Be able to do that for repeated rounds, maybe take a couple extra minutes break after 4 or 6 rounds, and then rinse and repeat. You're going to be able to really cover your conditioning on land while, again, being in a really safe space. So that you're able to get your proper conditioning in spite of visual impairment. When we are blind or visually impaired, depending on the level of vision, it could be very unfeasible to go to a track and do sprints, different things like that, or again, get a lot of ice time and really be able to push ourselves. So being able to put ourselves in a position where we're actually able to train that conditioning can be incredibly important. We can also do some different speed type work where we're able to output a lot of force, like with 10 sets of 2, going every minute on the minute with an audible timer on, let's say, a wide stance squat or something else that's going to be able to build up our posterior chain to be able to do a better job on the ice. And then lastly, it's kind of a weird one that you wouldn't normally think about, but with all the different input that we have to take in when we're thinking about blind hockey, it's a big puck. It's kind of dangerous. You've got to be able to listen to where that puck is and that bell. Be able to listen for commands from our teammates and coaches, be able to listen for, again, where that puck is, where defenders are, everything. It's a lot of information to be able to take in. So we have to make sure that we're not really too hyped up in a sympathetic state, really doing a lot of heaving chest breathing and just in survival mode where our a level of focus is going to be really narrowed. Instead, we have to make sure that we're able to intake a lot of information and then be able to react based on that. So being able to use diaphragmatic breathing, belly breathing, in order to keep our system nice and calm, especially mid-shift, and being able to stay in that calmer state of mind, be able to intake information better, and then push ourselves strategically, depending on where the puck is, what we need to be doing. That's going to be incredibly important as well. Then also, for when you are off the ice, or there's some sort of stoppage in play, being able to diaphragmatically breathe, use that belly breathing, drop the diaphragm down, expand the lungs all the more, get those deeper calming breaths, is really going to be able to allow you to not just be cranked to 100 the entire time, instead be able to calm back down, so then you're able to, again, intake with the context of what's going on around you during play and have the energy and wherewithal to be able to output yourself even better. This can be incredibly important for, especially later in shifts, when it really comes down to who is the freshest and who is able to think about what's going on and act accordingly. So again, We're going to be having our rear foot elevated lunge work, mostly unilateral because it applies really well for on the ice work. We're going to be working on durability by strategically putting on muscle. We don't need to be necessarily bodybuilders, but being able to have a little bit more of that body armor is incredibly important. We're going to be working on our diaphragmatic breathing, calming down, and then using that to amplify our conditioning both on and off the ice. If you have any questions, go ahead and shoot those down in the comment section below. And if you are interested in my strength conditioning services for blind sports teams or individual training, which I also do remotely for people who are sighted or visually impaired, go ahead and shoot me an email at kanenablefitness@gmail.com. Stay tuned for a lot more blind sports being covered.